Hey Bob, it's Brent. I wanted to go over a few specific details for you. I know there's a lot of information on pivot tables on the web, but sometimes it's just easier seeing it with your own data. As you can see here, I have Excel open. I'm going to go to my Data tab, and then I'm going to choose Get External Data from Text. And then this is your CSV file that you get. I like to bring the CSV file into Excel because CSV files are limited on what we can do with them. So we're going to import that data, and we're going to choose delineated, and then we're also going to add a comma. I don't think a tab does much for you. As you can see here, this is all your columns. Now your total is broken apart. We're going to separate them out. Next, there's nothing you really need to fix on this. You can just choose finished. And then you can choose your existing worksheet up here, or you can add a new worksheet. Really the same thing. Click OK. So this brings all your data into Excel, and now we can do a little bit of work here. If you click anywhere within this table, we're going to activate your filter here, and then what we're interested in is the subtotals. We want to get rid of those. Those do you no good and just mess things up. So since we turned the filter on, we can now use the drop down arrow here, and then we can unselect everything because we just want to choose the subtotal line that's going to show up. And then as you scroll down, you can see those are all the lines we want to get rid of. So you can just highlight these, right click, and delete. We are not interested in the subtotals. We can create those on our own. And then we'll turn the filters back off. I can imagine that you get this file every month, and so it's not a bad idea. Let's add a little bit of date ranges to it. We want to add 3 new columns. So if we highlight 3 of the old columns, right click insert, we get 3 blank columns. And we're going to add a date field, a year field, and a month field. For our purposes, let's just call this January of this year. And if I copy that down to the very next cell, and then if I highlight both those cells and use my down here, you can see the cursor changes to a plus, and you double click on that, and that's going to fill that all the way down the sheet. And then we're going to right click on the column, choose Format Cells, and we're going to make sure this is a date. And for now, we can just choose this format here. We're going to change that just a little bit. And now we're going to come here and give you a little bit of category variables to work with. We want to just get the year of that. Then we want to get the month of that same date. And what this helps is if we're going to start pasting these data files together so you have a history over time. These will help you sort a little bit better. Again, same trick. If you move this to the bottom right of this and double click, it's going to copy all of our formulas down, and so they're all good. And that's it for that. One thing we are going to change here is just a formatting issue. We're going to format the cell again, and instead of that format, we want to look at this format. So when we actually drag that into the pivot tables, it'll make it a little easier to see. So we've added those. We have all your data here. You have your judge's name, your subtypes. This looks like the majority of your data right here. And then you get into what looks like some aggregation of data, some different grouping here on the opens and stuff like that. We'll get into that just a little bit more here. So click anywhere within this field again. We're going to choose Insert, and we're going to choose a pivot table. The range will automatically select for us, and we want to put it on a new worksheet, and we're going to click OK. Same as last time. We can come in here and we can start dragging these fields into rows into the columns, and anything in this area here is going to be a value, so it's going to sum, it's going to give you an average, a median, and stuff like that. For our case, let's just choose the judges' names here, and then let's just choose the new case files, and we're going to drag this in here. And by default, that's going to give you the sum, which means it's going to go through this entire list, and wherever this guy's name is mentioned, it's going to sum up his files and total it in the end. You can also change this. If you're doing some different aggregation over time, you can choose your value field setting here, and then you can count, you can average, you can max. Um, you can see if we choose count here, it's going to change the numbers. It's going to tell us how many rows it actually sees. So it's going to count how many times this guy name shows up on those rows. For what you're doing, that's not what you want. We want to change that back, and we want to go to sum. I can imagine that you would drag several of these in here so you can make a presentation of most of the general stuff that you're working with. Without getting too fancy there, we can come in here and highlight this a little bit. And then if you want, you can go up into the design area here, and instead of putting this in PowerPoint, you can start making a little bit of a presentation here with this data. If you hover over these different columns here, these different formats, you can make it a little bit more presentable, and you might get away with not having to put it into PowerPoint. You can add some grid lines here if that's not what you want. The point is you can do a lot with this data here. Let's add something that might be a little more favorable for you. And that's it. Now, one thing you can do with pivot tables is you don't have to create new ones each time. You can come in here and you can highlight this, highlight the entire area, copy this, go to a new worksheet, not our data worksheet, but a new worksheet, right click and just paste it. And you now have a new pivot table, so you can get rid of this stuff, and if you just drag it up in there, you see where that goes to a delete sign. It just gets rid of it off your table. And then let's drag these opens in here, because these kind of look like more of a grouping of some things that are together. And you can add all your groupings here. And again, you have the same formatted table here. And for instance, if you just want to show one of these, you can actually go up into your filters. If you drag this out just a little bit, and then you can uncheck some of these judges' names, and it will make this presentation a little bit shorter. There's a little trick, and I don't know what version of Excel you're running, but if you're running the right version, this may or may not work for you. If you right click this and choose add as a slicer, what this does is this becomes a filter for you. We drag this out a little bit, give yourself a little room to work. And if you start clicking on these names, it'll filter just on that table just to show you what you're dealing with. Now this is pretty handy if you're going to send this workbook to people and they can interact with this. Be a little bit careful with these slicers. If you add this slicer here, it can also affect data throughout the workbook. Not always, it just depends how it's connected and how you do it. You can also do the same thing here. You can add some formatting to the slicer to make it look a little more attractive for you. That's it for this video. We can add some more stuff later on if you want. Working with charts is just as easy. We can create a few presentations for you here. You can actually just come up here and insert a chart. This one might be a little busy, in which it is, but it'll give you the idea of what we're talking about here. We can come in here. Let's get rid of some of this stuff. Let's hide everything on this thing. And as you can see, the chart becomes responsive to the slicer that you're working with. May or may not be handy for you. Just wanted to show you how that works. That's it. I hope all this helped. Let me know if you need any help. There's certainly a lot more we can do with this. Talk to you later. Bye.